So taking a closer look at this fly, the tail CDL, the body's just thread, wire, and resin. The legs up here, this is a material called Flouro Fibre. It's what Craven uses on his Juju Baetis, which is a great small blue wing imitation. It's pretty versatile material for small legs on pretty small nymphs. And then this is a key component to this fly, is this bubble. And this bubble imitates ascending nymphs to the surface. At a certain point in their lives, when it's time for them to hatch, they fill with gas. Their exoskeleton fills with gas. That's why you see, shinier nymphs, and that's why they work a lot of times. And these nymphs, they'll fill with gas, and they uncontrollably a lot of times rise to the surface. Blue wings do a little bit of swimming, and they kind of fill with gas. But this bubble, the fish see this, and they know that this is a nymph that is kind of uncontrollably floating to the surface, and it's a really easy meal. So this fly for me has been one of my top winter producers, and I am willing to share that with you guys so you guys can do the same. I've caught some really, really big fish on this little fly. It's also why I tie it now on an even more stout hook. So we'll get to it, and I'll show you how to do it. It's pretty easy. There's just a couple of steps, but it is for sure worth all the effort to put that bead on. So the hook I'm using for this fly is a Ahrex. It is this Ahrex FW503 number 18. It's pretty small, but you can see I don't have many left in here. That's probably a good thing to show it's a good hook, but it's a pretty stout hook. Super strong. I really trust these Ahrex hooks, and I really want to have a strong hook for this fly because I have caught some very large fish using this fly, and I've lost too many big fish on this fly, and I just don't want to risk anything, so I will happily use a little bit larger gauge of wire on the hook to just reduce issues with the hook. Plus, I really like Ahrex hooks. I think they look good, and they're just super strong, so they're one of my favorites. And so this tail right here, this body is Simperfly Nano Silk 50 denier in olive, and then this tail is Dark Pardo CDL. And we're gonna I like to make the tail, blue wings tails are pretty long actually, so I like to make it about the length of the shank, maybe a little bit shorter. We're gonna bring these wraps up front, kind of wherever you want to stop is fine. Clip the excess, and then we're going to tie in a little bit of this soft wire, extra small black from Ewing. We're just going to tie a little bit of it in. I'm going to tie it in on my side here. And I will rotate it so you guys can see what I did, but I'm tying it in on my side so I can see it. I have glasses, so I need to be able to, my eyes are already kind of bad, so I kind of need to be able to see what I'm doing. And so we'll kind of bring the wire wraps up like this once we bring the thread up. Try to do even spacing. I'm going to kind of check my work here as I do it. Try to make even wraps here. I don't think the fish care that much, but I do. And, okay, so now we're going to clip this, and we're going to put a little dot on Solarez Bone Dry on here. This is my #1 most used resin of all time. It's great for sealing thread wraps and sealing up thread on bodies like this. I'm kind of going to smear it in. I don't want to use a lot. If I use too much, I'm going to lose the ribbing effect that I just created. So spread it with my fingers a little bit, thin it out, and then cure it. Next thing we're going to do is the bead. And so this is Tyre's glass bead. The color is iridescent crystal, and this is the mid size. This is the size you want for something like this. And then we're going to take this Vivis 0.1 mono, and we're going to run a bead through it. I did that before the video to save a little time, but I'm sure you all can figure out how to stick the bead on. And don't worry if it's not square. What you can do is you can kind of pull it tight into where it's got to be. but I like to put it back about that far, and then you can kind of straighten it out. You got to leave a little bit of room to dub the front and stick the legs in. I had a certain day fishing locally last winter where this fly, there was just a day where I became a believer in this fly. I was fishing a tail out with blue wings. This dubbing is Fly Fish Foods Bruiser Blend Medium Olive. It just dubs pretty small, that's why I like it. The K-Pox stuff would be real good for this too. But I had a day where I was fishing dries in the tail out, and then I went up to the head of the pool and I started running one of these through, and I caught I forget, a couple really big fish. One of them was huge, and I was just a believer after that. I've put this behind a dry fly just because it's so small and done well with it. But a lot of times I'll nymph it with a heavier nymph and then fish this below it off lighter tippet, and it blows around, and most of the time all they want is this. They could care less about the big stonefly or whatever other, fly I'm using to get down. They don't really care. So what we're going to do here is, this is Flouro Fibre. Like I said earlier, this is what, if you've ever heard of the fly, the Juju Baetis, this is what the legs are made of on it. And you're going to kind of make figure 8 wraps on it. And then we're going to put a little bit more of this dubbing. On little flies, less is more. If you put too much, you're going to have to backtrack and fix your mistakes. So I always like to add more if I need. Otherwise, just it's harder to take some off if you put too much than to add a little bit more. Yeah. So now, this fly is pretty much done. We're just going to clip the legs, whip finish the end. I personally like to put a little resin on the thread wraps. This fly will get beat up. It's pretty resilient to fish eating it, but it's tied it's pretty strong on its own, but I like to help it out always with a little dot of resin on my thread wraps. So what we're going to do is just a little tiny dot of solar bone dry right on those thread wraps. And this is my secret winter fly. This is the winter. This is the one that I don't leave home without. My tried and true winter Baetis pattern, the bubbleback Baetis emerger. I don't leave home without it. Let me know how it works for you.